Whoop whoop. Here we
We're
are.
alive. We're here.
Do you feel like it's been ages since we've recorded?
Yeah.
I feel like that too,
hmm
especially for me. I'm like, oh, I was kind of getting nervous before we started this.
Oh, I know. It's so crazy. I feel like, the last time we recorded was on Ted Bundy's birthday, um,
Yep.
which was crazy.
Yeah, what a coincidence. That's
For
insane.
real. I know.
And this is also the first time we've ever recorded so close to the release date. Like this is coming out in just a couple days. So I'm like,
I
oh,
know.
what the heck? We can talk about relevant topics. It's so
We really
crazy.
can. Like, real events.
Yes. So I have a one thing that I have been dying to bring up. So I've been shoving in as many Christmas movies as possible.
hmm
And it finally became available you had to I think purchase it. You might be able to rent it, but the clay animated Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And maybe I just didn't catch it in the past,
Uh-huh.
but there are so many sexist and like horrible remarks made in that movie.
No way.
Listen, I'm not the kind of person that was like offended because that was the time and that's just how it is. I don't think the movie
Right.
needs to be canceled. But there were two, and even Nick, it had us dying laughing. So I went back and found the exact quote. So in one scene, um, every Rudolph runs away. Everyone, the
hmm
whole family wants to go out and find him.
Okay.
And Rudolph's dad says, "No, this is man's work."
Oh my gosh.
I died. And then the next one is at the end. Spoiler alert: they fight off the Bumble, the abominable snowman,
hmm
and the narrator comes on and says, "Oh, and their friend Cornelius like goes down with the Bumble," and the narrator says. They were all very sad at the loss of their friend, but they realized that the best thing to do was to get the women back to Christmas Town.
Oh my
That had me
gosh.
rolling. I was like, what did they just say? Like,
When was this released?
oh, like way back in the day. Like
Oh, gotcha.
I want to say like I'm probably going to butcher this like 60s, 70s.
Okay.
Did they have clay
Okay.
animation back then? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
long time ago. I mean,
How
horrible
funny.
quality film. But
Right.
they like promote bullying. They're like, no daughter of mine's gonna date a red-nosed reindeer, and like it's so harsh. I was like, whoa.
Oh my
So
gosh, how funny.
go watch your family-friendly movies this season. But
Right.
that one cracked me up so hard.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
great. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any
Yeah.
news for you?
No news for me.
Mm,
Nothing crazy going on in this world.
no
So,
holiday festivities.
not really. No.
Wow, what a
I
Scrooge.
know. I know. I know.
Well, just for listener reasons, I have been down for 2 weeks with the worst cold I think I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, you've been
So
sick.
if you hear a little cough or two, I'm going to do my best to edit all of those out, but just kind of bear with me here because I happen to be telling the story today
You
and
are.
it's a long one. So,
Yep.
should we just get right in? Oh, something spiked.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Well, glad you asked. Look at this mug or glass.
How
Hallow
cute.
Queen.
That's
So
cute.
I made a drink. I like to call it my poor girl's drink because this is what I would drink when like I couldn't afford to go out and get like a nice bottle of wine. It is just vodka with lemon juice, like a splash. I just put grape juice. Normally it would be orange juice and some LaCroix. So that's it. It's so refreshing, and I didn't want to do anything that I thought was gonna like super dry me out. So it's
Yeah.
a whole can of LaCroix in here.
Yeah.
So that's simple and basic today.
That sounds terrible.
It's actually really good, but it's more of like a summer drink, like a day
Yeah.
drink.
Okay. Well, I'm drinking a spiked eggnog, your favorite eggnog.
Ugh, yeah.
But it's actually an almond nog, so it doesn't really have eggs in it.
Okay.
So I truly don't know how they make it, but so it has the eggnog, tequila, Disaronno, and cinnamon.
Ooh,
And
I
I
might
have it in
actually
my
like it.
Something Spiked little mug.
Yes, I love it. Well, cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
So I've been thinking of the drinking word,
mm-hmm.
and I know what it is.
Okay,
Any
okay.
guesses? Any guesses? What do you think?
Oh, man, I was worried about this because there's so many good ones. So just spill it.
Okay, ready?
Uh-huh.
Mother.
Oh, shit. Oh,
Mother. Mother or mom.
shit. Oh, my
That's it.
gosh. All right,
That's
guys.
it.
Well, it's a good thing that this is a hefty glass
Yep.
because we're going to be drinking. Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. Mommy dearest, mother is the word.
Yes.
So, disclaimer, our videos and podcasts are for entertainment purposes. All information discussed was found on the internet. Keep in mind we will be talking all things sinister. That may not be suitable for all audience. Viewer discretion or listener discretion is advised. Let me switch over here. So, today we are discussing Ed Kemper, the co-ed killer or co-ed butcher. And it's a good one. So
Yeah. Such a good story.
man, I don't know if I just don't retain information well, but every time we do these and I have to do the research and dig deep, I'm like, I don't remember some of these gruesome details.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like probably other podcasts that you've listened to, maybe they just didn't really go into
Deep?
depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the disclaimer now that this one is very violent. There are triggers. There's basically any trigger you can think of. It's in this. It gets very disgusting. He specifically had a lot of quotes. He's done a lot of interviews. So it's really dark. It reminded me a lot of the Toy Box Killer, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we go. Edmund Emil Kemper the Third was born December 18th, 1948. Is that right? Yes. Yes. For a second there, I was like, wait, is that correct? Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm already messing this up. I'm going to blame it on the cough syrup. So he is a serial killer, rapist, and necrophile. He likes to have intercourse with dead people. His name's, like I said, co-ed killer, butcher, and also Big Ed. Big Ed was his, day-to-day nickname. That wasn't his serial killer nickname.
Right.
So, I'm just going to describe his personality right from the beginning because he was kind of this way from childhood to adulthood. He had, he displayed antisocial behaviors. He was narcissistic, which it's funny. He was a seemingly pretty nice guy to a lot of people who knew him, but the narcissism will kind of come into play later. He had major social anxiety, especially with women. He was an organized lust killer, and he self-described himself as normal and trusting. So you can kind of see where like the narcissism came in there.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. So he is a Sagittarius. That's what we are talking about this month. And I realized I know a ton of Sagittariuses.
Yeah, we do. I mean, speaking of, Amanda from Missouri wrote in again, and that's D-U-H at the end. Weird how she spells her name.
Yeah,
but
so weird.
I mean, but she's so nice. You know, she writes in to us all the time. And
Huge fan.
Huge fan. Huge fan. Anyway, she wrote into us and said, bitches, I'm a Sagittarius.
We were like,
that's
whoa.
literally what she said.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, Amanda.
So
sorry.
shout out. My sister is also a Sagittarius. And
you didn't know?
It just didn't click in my head until now.
Yeah.
And well, this has been my first time covering a Sagittarius too.
Yeah.
So, I I got this off of CoStar, like the app and their website. They are super detailed. I love using them. They describe, well, they have a full breakdown of Sagittarius's, but the things that stuck out to me: reckless in their pursuit of what they want. They are insatiable hunger, or they have an insatiable hunger for knowledge. They don't believe in playing it safe. Wields truth like a blunt weapon. Ooh, I liked that one a lot.
Yeah.
Friendliest person at the party.
Okay.
And as a fire sign reminder for everyone, we're looking at passionate, creative, spontaneous. So all of those things. But
wow.
reckless in the pursuit of what they want, that's a pretty big one for Ed, as well as a hunger for knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I would 100% agree.
Yeah. So,
and I would throw in like kind of a little bit about Ted Bundy, you know, that we covered in the past, like constantly looking for that next thrill or that next thing to keep him happy or to keep him motivated.
Absolutely. So, and honestly, there are so many times that Ed Kemper reminded me of Ted Bundy throughout this. They have very similar personalities.
Oh, for sure.
And kind of how like people looked at them. It's pretty similar. So Ed was born in Burbank, California. At the time his parents were married, their names are Clarnell and Edmund. His dad was a World War II vet. Childhood, worst of the worst. So very troubled. He was also very intelligent from a young age. We'll find out later that his IQ tested at 145, which is considered highly gifted.
Yes.
Which could also explain, you know, some of his personality traits. His mother, that's who he had. Oh, shit.
Drink.
Okay. His mother was extremely problematic. We're not drinking for that one. We just drank and we're doing the deal. So his parents divorced in 1957. We'll kind of fast forward to that. I think he was somewhere around the age of nine. If I'm doing my math correct. Yeah. 9. He was actually close to his dad. Not a lot is said about his dad, except the fact that his dad worked very menial jobs. The mom was very much against that. So mom was ruler of the house. She was physically, verbally, mentally abusive and a major, major alcoholic. So when they divorced, this absolutely devastated Ed. He had other siblings as well. He had sisters. So when they divorced, his mom forced him to move to Montana with her and the girls.
Yep.
She did things such as, like, she was afraid that he was going to hurt his sisters. He had already started displaying very problematic behaviors, torturing animals, killing animals, specifically their family cats. So in one incident, he killed a cat. The next cat he buried alive. That wasn't enough. So he unburied the cat. What's the word I'm looking for when you dig up a grave?
Yeah. Resume the body. Or
yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
He popped its head off and then buried it again. Yeah.
Oh my
so
God.
Like it wasn't enough. This popping off of the head thing is a common thing for Ed. So we'll get into that. He did sort of mess with his sisters as far like mentally. So popping the head off of their Barbie dolls, he said that he liked the sound of that occurring. Kind of weird. So that being said, mom was scared that Ed was going to that he was going to hurt the girls, so she would lock him in the basement, which was rat infested, molded mattress, total darkness, like 9-10 years old, like absolutely just torturous for him.
That is very just so sad, you know? Like, can you imagine? I mean, number one, the child is clearly acting out for many reasons. And then instead of like talking to your child, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to punish you by locking you in a basement to make you even more crazy.
It's ignoring all the signs of a child in need and then just making it a million times worse.
Oh, for sure.
So she was very critical. She blamed everything on Ed, not the sisters. And, you know, it is kind of hard. I could see where, like, a mother would be scared for her other children because you do sometimes. Oh, this is going to be bad. It's going to be so bad. I could see where you would fear for your other children. Sometimes they are just problematic. But
for sure.
These are very extreme circumstances that you should know to get this child help.
Yep.
Instead of like instigating the behaviors, I guess. Mm-hmm. So she wouldn't coddle him for fear of turning him gay. She'd expressed signs of personality disorder. And, you know, according to the ex-husband, he came back and said, yeah, she was always outraged with me.
Yep.
Emasculated him, put him down for his jobs, and so on. He compared her to war so many times. He was a World War II veteran, and his words were basically that she was worse than any of the atomic bombs he experienced in war. So, if you can only imagine. And on top of this, Ed is getting bullied for his personality and also being a very large person. So at 15 years old, he was already 6'4", and I don't have his exact weight, but he was like large. He was a large person.
Yeah.
So, not the greatest childhood starting out. He sort of had this dark fantasy life. Mm-hmm. So he liked to play mind games with himself. Imagine, you know, like for the dolls, for example, that wasn't just, oh, I like the sound. It's a satisfying sound. He was imagining doing that to people. He would make his sisters play games called gas chamber or electric chair, where he would act out the pain of those things. Like he wanted to be the one in the electric chair or the one in the gas chamber. Right. And not, you know, torturing other people. He liked the torture himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so already displaying like a sociopathic personality. Someone who doesn't know what those feelings are like. They like to act it out, make people, like draw people in that way and play those mind games. It's absolutely disturbing. And a lot of times people said that he was asked to be blindfolded during these games, and he just absolutely loved the torture at a very young age.
That's insane.
Yes, absolutely. So when he was about 14, 15 years old, he had had enough of his mom. He ran away to be with his father. Good thing it's an extra large glass. So he ran away to be with his father in Van Nuys, California. Pretty long ways away. Not exactly sure how he got there, but he did. So
Dad probably bought him a bus ticket or whatever.
Something along those lines. But when he got there, he was actually rejected by his father. He had remarried. She had a son. So he was like, sorry, no, you should go live with your grandparents. So this would have been his paternal grandparents.
Yep.
They lived in North Fork, California, not too far away. They lived on a farm, and he absolutely hated this lifestyle. He hated the fact that his grandpa was kind of a pushover, like the other men in his family, and grandma was just like his mom, very dominant. He described them as basically the same people, although from what I read, it's not a lot of like the physical torture. It's more of like the mental triggers that are getting to him.
Right.
So when he first got there, living on a farm, they gave him a gun. But they noticed he was going out doing random killings, shooting small animals, birds, just for fun. So despite what he wanted, they did take the gun away. And he, sorry, I'm losing my place here. So my exact words here, grandma emasculated both him and the grandpa. So again, these are just like
same signs as how his mother acted.
Yes.
But you said they were his paternal.
Paternal.
So not even related.
No, but I have a feeling this is coming not to like victim blame here, but this is coming from the men and the women that they choose. Because Grandpa is also a lot like his son.
Right.
Ed's dad. You know what I mean?
So weird.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate because it's kind of like you have this opportunity of a troubled kid maybe getting to spend time with a normal family, and it's just not going to happen.
No.
So, she could never be pleased with anything Ed did. I mean, it is literally just everything the same as Mom. Oh, God, I hate you for this word. So, for Christmas, I don't know if they gave the rifle back, got him a new rifle, what the situation was, but fast forward to August of 1964. He's somewhere around the age of 16. Him and his grandma had gotten into a disagreement, and he had just absolutely had enough, and he shot her. And later he says it was to see what it felt like. That is an exact quote from him. So again, it kind of goes back to that dark fantasy life. Yeah. Just, being
He's just wanting to see, like you said, to see what it felt like.
Yeah.
He wanted to do all of these different things to see how it would make him feel.
Yeah. Just an absolutely fascinated brain. I mean, just wanting to know more. And again, to me, that kind of relates back to the knowledge. And it's not to say people with high IQs want to like murder people. No. But his obviously took a dark turn.
It did.
Yep. So at that point, it sounded like he maybe did have some respect for his grandpa, much like he did his dad. He knew his grandpa would be upset with what he had done to grandma. So he didn't want grandpa to see the site in the kitchen or wherever I think it was in the kitchen that this took place. So grandpa was coming home from getting groceries. He met him at his car where he point blank shot and killed him as well, to literally spare him from seeing and knowing because he knew he'd get in trouble for this.
Yep.
So, I mean,
killed
sounds logical.
Grandparent.
Yeah.
Yep. Just why not?
Point blank at 16 years old, killed his grandparents. So after that, the first thing he did was he made a call to his mom. He admitted everything and said what he did. He admitted everything that he did. Yeah. She said, don't run. You need to call the police and tell them what you did. Yep. So he did. He called the police and confessed, and they came and got him. Yep. So due to him being obviously underage and
a minor,
being such a insane story, they immediately took him to the state hospital where he was immediately diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
Paranoid schizophrenia?
Yeah, paranoid schizophrenia.
That is not what he had, but okay. Like, they were way wrong back in this would have been the 60s?
Yeah, 60s. Right. And in my opinion, this time in the state hospital and the juvenile detention center that he eventually gets taken to me, this is what built the serial killer in him. This is where everything goes wrong. Yeah. So, he was diagnosed. The psychiatrists, the social workers, everyone disagreed with the court psychiatrist's diagnosis. So you have lots of opinions going on back and forth. Some people think he's criminally insane. Some people look at it as he's a kid with a bad life. I mean, it's just no one can really agree to what happens. Psychiatrists didn't see the delusions that he was claiming to have, flight of ideas, any bizarre thinking. They thought this was all very calculated and they just have a cold-blooded killer on their hands. Right. So, again, they thought his intelligence played a huge role in this, and they re-diagnosed him with passive-aggressive type and personality trait disturbance.
That's just so crazy because if we think about, the 60s back in the day, mental illness, wasn't really a thing. Yeah. And they would either say that, people are sane or insane. They didn't really have these I mean, they had these diagnoses, of course, but they didn't really understand them, at this time. And so they're basically like, you have a group of people over here who are trying to say, like, no, this kid, because he's a kid at this time.
Exactly.
This kid is unwell. He has trauma. Look at what's happened to him as a child. And look at what he did as, a child. And then you have the law enforcement side saying, no, that doesn't matter. He's still, committing a crime. And he just killed his grandparents. Killed his grandparents. Such a weird time back then.
It was. And at this time, we don't have serial killer profiling. We don't have DNA testing, which not that this needed that, but we didn't have the research, the technology to investigate things further like we do now. So it's absolutely horrible. Like
they would open a book and they would read and say, "Yep, that's what he is. That's what he has."
Well, I think, and we'll get into this pretty soon, but a lot of things worked on feelings and what people saw at face value. And as we all know, especially with Ed Kemper, he's a genius. You cannot take things at word or face value. Oh, well, he seems like a nice guy. He promises he won't do it again. But that's definitely not how things worked in the late 60s and with Ed Kemper specifically. So, oops, I accidentally fast forwarded a little bit on my notes here. So this is where the feelings and you cannot trust criminals, you cannot trust murderers comes into place. So he was taken to, I'm probably going to butcher this, Atascadero State Hospital for the Criminally Insane.
Okay.
So he allegedly got along great with everybody here, including his psychiatrist. He was made an assistant to the psychiatrist where he would help perform examinations on other people within this facility. He was actually trained to administer these tests to other inmates. What? I read that and I literally had to put an X in my notes because I'm like, I need to look into this. I get a lot of my information from good old Wikipedia, and I was like, this has got to be someone playing a sick joke. No. Well, the sick joke gets worse.
Yep.
So, he became part of I think it's pronounced JC's, but it's the United States Junior Chamber while he was in this facility. And what they do leadership training and civic organization, and their areas of emphasis are in business development, management skills, individual training, community service, and international connections. All of this is great. I am all about rehabilitation in
for sure.
prisons and hospitals and all of these facilities. So don't get me wrong. It's not like, I want these people to get help, see the light, blah, blah, blah. However, what he did for this organization was help to develop psychiatric tests and scales. So again, I see where he could
they might as well utilize them for something. They had to build their testing off of someone and assist with that. But for him to
total agreement. However, it's using him as a test subject is one thing. I absolutely agree. While he's there, study the shit out of him. Do what you got to do. But the problem is he he says that this is one of the reasons he learned to be such a fantastic mental manipulator. It's because he knew what they were going to look for.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, maybe he should be a test subject, not developing the test, because what happens when you evaluate him?
Yeah. That's like the person who developed the lie detector test. They will forever be able to pass it.
Yeah. So
because they developed the test.
Exactly. They quoted him as just being this model inmate. he took pride in his work. Yeah, bitch, he took pride in his work because he's like taking freaking notes, and he's like, as soon as I get out of here, I'm going to use all this to my advantage, especially in the 60s. Like, this is just insane to me. I just like, again, all about Reformation and using these people and studying them and like learning what we can, but like, Jesus Christ, do not have them develop the way. Anyways, I'm like, do we not have a person with a 145 IQ that maybe didn't murder his grandparents that could help us out?
Right.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
So, this is one of the things that again, we're going to get into some direct quotes. So, because of this, he says he knew a lot how to manipulate psychiatrists and learn a lot from sex offenders he administered. Quote, they told me that to avoid leaving any witnesses, it was best to kill a woman after raping her. So I'm like, he's sitting there interviewing these rapists, and they're like, yo, bro, here's how you do it.
Yeah, here's how you do it. Just make sure you kill them.
Yeah, don't leave any witnesses. That's the serial killer's motto. Don't leave witnesses.
Hashtag don't leave witnesses.
Oh my God. And Kemper,
by the
step
way,
by step.
Speaking of hashtags, so I was posting, that Ted Bundy thing today, and I went to do hashtag Ted Bundy.
You can't.
And it's gone. But you can do Bundy, hashtag Bundy.
You know what I'm so mad about, and I'm just going to say it now, is we never once made the joke about Bundy undies in our 2-part
I know, we
series.
Never did.
What
we never
the heck?
did.
What the heck? Oh, I'm so mad at us.
I know. Maybe, we're going to leave that as a tease to the audience. So we'll come back. We'll come back to the Bundy undies. But yeah, I noticed that too. I tried, and I kind of felt weird. I'm like, should I hashtag Ted Bundy? And I was like, yeah, why not? Maybe, you just never know. Yeah. And it wouldn't even let me do it. When it popped up with zero hashtags used, I was like, oh, this is going to get blocked. So yeah, I know. But Bundy had like over 300,000. So I'm like, all right, I'll do Bundy.
Yeah, why not? So anyways, wow. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's where things just get absolutely freaking terrible. So despite other psychologists, so outside of the people who are fucking giving him jobs, the prison doctor's recommendations, he was released on his 21st birthday. He was...
For good behavior.
For good freaking behavior. Folks, that is 5 years after 2 murders of your family.
Of your grandparents for no reason. I mean, he...
Honestly, sorry. Like, grandma's a bitch. I get it.
Grandma is a bitch.
Like, you're 16 years old. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I shouldn't say that. That's like... I shouldn't say just, it's that easy. Just leave your family. Like, I understand it's hard, but, like, murder is not the answer, guys.
But murder is not an option. Like, not an option. And then he is, like, released on good behavior. And obviously, like, they deemed him a model inmate. Inmate. He helped write these tests. He helped perform these tests. So they're like, he's not an inmate. He needs to leave.
Yep.
And they released him.
And then they also released him to his mother, which everyone was like, okay, if you're...
To his mother. Drink. I hope you all are drunk.
Also, I have been drinking every time I say grandmother.
Oh, well, I mean, it has mother in it, too. So.
Yeah. Anywho.
So release
they were like,
to the demon.
They literally were like, we're hanging the banners. Don't send him home with his mom. And that's exactly what they do.
And they knew about his mother at this time. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
But they did.
Yeah.
They knew about her because he told these psychiatrists literally everything about his childhood.
Yes.
He told them about the animals. He told them about why he killed his grandparents. He told them about the relationship that he had with his mom. He told them about the relationship that he had with his sisters and his dad. So they knew that she was the worst person.
Yes.
For him to go home to.
Yeah.
They knew.
So if you can imagine somebody who, like, he looks just like a gentle giant. I would describe him as, like, the teddy bear type.
For sure.
If you've seen the actor that plays him in Mindhunter, what's his name? I put it down here somewhere because I am in love with this actor.
He killed it.
Cameron Britton. Cameron Britton is a spitting image of him.
He is.
But the way you can find interviews with Ed Kemper, and he is very articulate. He is very straightforward. He is pretty monotone, but
no emotion.
Yeah, I mean, but he is openly honest, like very open. It's like that antisocial personality kind of, but it's because he is so fond of law enforcement. He's obsessed with them, which we'll get into.
He is.
But yes, he's a very open person. He told them all about the mom, all about the grandma. He flat out told them, I killed my grandma because I wanted to see what it felt like. Mm-hmm. That would be 2 drinks.
I know. He really did.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did. And these people, I mean, I can't even imagine, like, talking to a human being like this, you know, and especially in the 60s. Again, you got to take that into account where serial killers weren't really a thing yet. Give it another 5 years and then they were, you know? Yeah. But, like, and again, mental illness wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing.
And so they saw a good kid and that developed into a good adult. And they're like, we know he had a bad childhood. We know he had a bad life, but here we go. We're going to give him a second chance.
So, and thankfully a lot of good comes from this case in that aspect, but we'll
for sure
get into that. So basically, to sum up his time in these facilities, all charges were expunged and released on parole. And again, the only thing you can find is that he convinced the courts that he was rehabilitated. So that's it. So his mom at this time is now teaching at in Santa Cruz. In Santa Cruz at the University of California. So what a great place for your murderous
role
son.
Model.
Yeah. Also,
and for a terrible human being being a fucking teacher, like, oh great, those poor kids.
Kind of goes back, which I don't know a job that would be good for like a serial killer environment, but it is kind of a theme that they're always like working jobs they shouldn't be, or they're living with some, you know what I mean? It's just so crazy. I know. But anyways, he decided to attend that community college because he wanted to be a police officer, state trooper, something in law enforcement.
Might as well get that discount from mama.
Yep. So, that being said, our drinking word should be shit, because I basically say that every time we say the drinking word.
Every time.
Wow. Anywho, so he was rejected from the police force for his size. At this point, he is 6'9" and 300 pounds. So again, big, gentle, giant. Google a picture of him. Like, I'm not saying that to be nice. He just looked like a nice guy. He really did.
He did.
So, that's where he gets the nickname Big Ed. Again, it's not serial killer related. He was known by that by law enforcement. He would frequent bars where they would hang out. He maintained a very friendly relationship with the police. And because of his knowledge with the tests and all the psychiatric work that he'd endured, he knew how to ask just enough. Oh, there he is. There's
Mr. Ed. Okay, sorry. Continue.
Also, apparently he does not like to be called Edward.
He does not. Why?
His mom gave him Edmund.
Yes.
So he says, go by Ed. Call me Ed.
Yep. Yep. Call me Ed.
Freak. Okay. So he was known as a friendly nuisance. So
hang on a sec. Time out.
Okay.
Can you imagine, not really time out, but like, can you imagine if he would have been a police officer?
No. That's like, what's his name? Wasn't there a serial killer police officer? Didn't we talk about
him? Joseph James D'Angelo.
Yeah, the Golden State Killer. Yeah.
I know, but can you imagine if Ed would have been a police officer?
Not because he is so resourceful. He is so intelligent.
So smart.
The intelligence is scary.
He would probably still... He probably would have never gotten caught.
No.
To be honest. He would be like Joseph James D'Angelo, where they found DNA from years back, from, something that had happened, and then they arrested him.
Yeah, my thing with Ed Kemper, though, is that he, as much as, like, people describe him as a sociopath, there was something about him that was very, emotionally driven.
Oh,
to where, like, he just did things in a rage that I'm like, that lends you to get caught pretty easily. Whereas, like, people like Ted Bundy were very calculated, and Golden State Killer very calculated and thought out. Whereas Ed Kemper's not really like that.
No, and he was taking all his anger out on one particular reason, which, I mean, you'll talk a little bit more about that, but...
Correctamundo. So, back to these cops, allegedly as well, the cops were so friendly with him that one of them gave him a training school badge and handcuffs, and another one let him borrow a gun. Why? Who the fuck knows? That is stupid. I can't think of one good reason why you would give out any of those things.
Well, but at this time, he didn't have a record, so... He looks like a model person.
You imagine,
I know.
If I looking like this, walk up to a police officer and say, "Can I just borrow your gun?" They're gonna be like, "No." And in fact, we're gonna start an investigation on you. That's weird.
In fact, you are going to jail.
Yeah. In fact, turn around and put your hands behind your back, you freak.
You were harassing a police officer.
Just insane. Just absolutely insane. So he is still living with mom at this time, and he is working again. I'm not going to say it.
He's working
menial jobs. So they are still constantly fighting. He landed a job at the California Department of Transportation. It has another name and word, but that's all we really need to know. Their arguments were so bad. I'm kind of went back and forth there, but his arguments with his mom were so bad they were overheard by neighbors. Like, this is a clear thing. This is not anything in secret.
Right.
He recounts the fights being, quote, horrendous, vicious, things that men would have gotten physical over, but he did respect the aspect that she was a female to not hit her, which is so ironic. But these were over things like, one example is she told him he needed to have his teeth cleaned. So things like that turn out into physical, emotional, full-out battles.
Right.
Just over the top. So
I read something where they had gotten into a fight over, like, she had told him to take the trash out. Or something little like that.
Little
and
things.
It became psychotic.
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it kind of relates later to, and I don't want to give out any spoilers to how it ends, but that's kind of how she ends up.
Where she did.
Yep. So.
A nice sound effect.
Yeah. I'm here for the sounds. So he was like, I got to get the F out of here. Bye, Mom. So they don't have a lot of money. He saved up enough money to move about an hour and a half away, 77 miles from Santa Cruz. He moved in with a friend. There's zero information on this friend.
Right.
But continued to struggle financially, so I can't imagine it was anything more than just this small apartment. Mm-hmm. But he maintained a relationship with his mom kind of against his will, which is, oh my God.
I know I need a refill.
I know, I was hoping this mug would last me through both episodes. Definitely not going to. So,
maintain relationship with her.
This kind of goes back to his narcissistic tendencies, but he a lot of times would spin things to make it sound like he was the victim. Like, I had to maintain this toxic relationship. I had to do this to this woman. We'll get in later, but he had, quote unquote, to maintain this relationship because she would make surprise visits to him and call him constantly. So again, constantly fighting, showing up. I'm sure things were physical and rough, blah, blah, blah. So, I put during his employee. We're just going to ignore that
employment.
Sentence. Yes. So, while he was still working, he was, I think he was maybe off duty at this point. He had saved up and bought a motorcycle.
Okay.
But he was hit by a car, and in the settlement, he received $15,000, which is equal to $90,000 today. So quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
But he could not work. So what did he do? He bought a car, and he had all this free time and all this money to do
whatever he wanted.
Really scandalous things, as one might put it. So he purchased a car, and as he was just driving around looking for trouble, he noticed a lot of young women who are willing to hitchhike. This is the era of hitchhiking.
It is.
Please
the
do
era
not hitchhike.
Of hippies.
Ever.
Yeah.
Don't ever hitchhike. I don't care what your reason is. Walk. Walk 5,000 miles. Don't hitchhike.
Right. Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker?
Yes.
Or like your parents or whatever?
No, my Nana is very against that. I have picked up hitchhikers with someone in the car. And then Nick has actually picked up a hitchhiker, which is a crazy story now that I think about it. The guy was senile. What's the other word I'm looking for? Like, he had dementia. Like, Nick picked him up at the end of our street. We had never seen this guy. And the guy was like, I need to go to this place to turn in, I think, like a bank statement. So Nick's like, yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, I think I was on the phone with him or something. We were somehow on the phone. And I was like, do not get off the phone with me. So then the guy, Nick drives him like to like about a mile away. There's a gas station. Yeah. The guy was like, pull over here. I need to go in and use the ATM. So Nick pulls in. The guy never comes out. Nick waits like 10, 15 minutes, never comes out. And so I'm like, Nick, please get out of there. Please get out.
Yeah, just leave. Just leave.
So then like a week later at that house where he picked him up, there was an ambulance. Oh. And he did give Nick his name. And I know, is this illegal to read people's mail?
Yeah, don't say the name.
No, I meant to read his mail.
Yeah, that's illegal.
Okay, well, we somehow found out that his name matched the name at that house.
Oh, wow.
I won't say how we found out. But, so he did live at that house, but he was lost in his own front yard.
Oh, that's sad.
So it was really sad, but it was also really scary. Don't know what happened to him. We honestly thought the house was abandoned, so that's even scarier.
Oh my gosh, and he was living there the whole time.
Yeah. Do you pick up hitchhikers?
Where was his family? No, I don't, but I mean, there was one time my mom picked up this woman, and I was in the front seat, and she got in the back seat, and it was raining, it was cold, she was like carrying groceries.
Oh,
so my mom like...
You said it twice.
Oh, I know. But my mom, it's not related to the
3
story.
times.
She picked up this woman and we took her home. So,
and nothing happened?
No, she was like a middle-aged woman.
Tell it again. Tell.
My question, bitch, was have you ever picked up a hitchhiker? Because it was a hitchhiking part in the story.
Yeah,
so
honestly.
Continue.
I think I have a few times with people in the car. Never by myself.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, that's not true. I think I have. Anyways, we'll save that for another time. So, anyways, started noticing all these women getting picked up. So this is when the dark fantasy comes back into play. So he claims later that he probably helped 100 to 150 women just hitchhike. He liked the conversation, is what he said.
Right.
But the whole time he's taking these women, he's having his thoughts, kind of like what he did with the dolls, like what he did with his grandma.
The
what
animals.
Would it be like to pop their heads off?
Right.
What would it be like to kill this woman? What would it be like to shoot her? And with
to
the
rape
money,
her, to do whatever.
Yes, just horrendous thoughts. He was somehow able to fight against them, which is just the craziest thing to me for that. If that's true, if that number is true. And he's honestly so open about everything else.
All of it.
I feel like, why would he lie about that number?
No.
So he's also at this time, because of his money, collecting tools that he thinks in the future, if I were to do this, this was the tool I would use. So he's collecting all these tools in his car. So later in interviews, he was asked, what did run through your mind exactly when you would see a pretty girl specifically? Mm-hmm. And this is his direct quote. One side of me says, wow, what an attractive chick. I'd like to talk to her, date her. The other side of me says, I wonder what her head would look like on a stick. Wow.
I know. Like night and day difference. Like, okay, I like her. What if she could be my girlfriend? And then the other part is, all right, I want to kill her and see what her head looks like on a stick.
And I feel like
no connection. Like one part is emotional and the other part is zero. It's weird.
Yeah.
So weird. So fascinating.
And I feel like the woman rejection theme is very common with serial killers, or just rejection of love, honestly, in general. Rejection in general, but he is very open later in life about, I would see a couple and think, oh, I would like that. I wonder what it's like for a girl to be interested in me and a girl to date me. But at that point, it's like that rage took over.
Yeah. So and he was like, nope, no love, just kill.
Yeah. I mean, anyways.
I know.
So we're minutes away from our hour mark. And this is where I'm going to cut this off before we get into the actual killings and the final
story. Shebang.
Yes.
Okay.
One thing I do want to say, because, and I meant to say this at the beginning of the video and I forgot, is that I saw this TikTok. It's crazy that a TikTok just inspired some deep thoughts within me, but it did, where a girl, I guess they suffered a murder tragedy within their family, and it was picked up by Hulu without their consent or knowledge. And Hulu covered the story with names and everything, and they didn't know until
their names?
Yes. Until it was released. And the girl who made the TikTok, I think, was a sister of the victim. And she was like, this is entertainment for you guys. It's not, this is our lives. I think that's awful to create.
And they should have, that family particularly should have been able to give consent to Hulu.
Yeah. I don't know. There was something about that TikTok that I was just like, oh, damn, that's the other side of this.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anywhoosers, shall we thank our patrons?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about Color Up CBD while I pull this up? Because I actually wrote down our patrons' names this time.
Oh, look at you.
I know.
Yeah, want to talk about our sponsor, Color Up CBD. You can go to colorupco.com, order whatever you would like. All CBD, natural CBD products, including dog treats, skincare, tinctures, all of the above. And if you use code SINISTER20, all lowercase, you can get 20% off.
Woo! Just in time for the holidays.
Yeah.
So in our gift box that we were sent, I just used the facial scrub because I don't use that every day. I use that like once every couple months. It's so gentle.
It is.
I'm like obsessed. It was so
it's like
nice.
Like a micro exfoliant or whatever.
It's not super harsh. It also leaves your face feeling a little moisturized afterwards.
For sure.
That is my product of the week that I'm super about, is their facial scrub. And to thank our patrons, aka the supporters of the podcast, we have lost a member, Sean, who we
R.I.P.
who we talked about last week. But instead we replaced him with Justin. So we have Justin, Annette, Adrian, Nicholas, Valerie, Haley, Angie, and Cheryl. Thank you guys all so much.
Woo-woo.
Those of you who are VIPs are getting a seasonal gift. So that's super exciting. So excited for that. And we will see you in part 2.
Yep, we
on
will.
Thursday.
Yep, on Thursday. Stay sinister.
And happy holidays. Bye.